Okay, we're recording this audio so that our missing kids can see this. Okay, so you're going to go to the very back page of your notebook and title it Supreme Court Cases. Supreme Court Cases. I know this is weird, but we work from the front to the back and the back to the front. From the back, we take notes on kids' cases as they present them, so you can kind of see like someone else's notebook here. See, camera, there you go. So you're going to go to the back of your notebook, very back page, title it Supreme Court Cases. And then before we write down notes on cases, we're going to write down kind of requirements for your Supreme Court case. So let's get started. The Supreme Court case project, go ahead and title like a couple lines down, requirements. There are two parts of the Supreme Court case project that you have to do. One part is direct instruction, so like the presentation. So part one is a presentation, and then part two is an activity. I would write that down. I know it's not on the slide, but part one is the presentation, part two is the activity. So this slide that you're looking at right here is all about the presentation. And I hate to say it, but a lot of these bullets you're going to kind of write down on your paper here. You can also snap a picture because maybe you'll shorten this, but you want like the full list of requirements, so you might want to take out your phone and snap a picture. I'm going to show you sample projects too. Okay, so you can make for the presentation, you can make a PowerPoint, you can make a Prezi. What else is there? What's it called? It's Google Slides. What's that one? Flow or something? Padlet. I don't know. Can you do Padlet? Padlet's more interactive, I feel like. There's a Microsoft one, but I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, some kind of direct instruction. You can make a video. You can make a video that teaches the case if you want to. I've seen wonderful, fantastic videos. The type where like one of them that comes to my mind is like there's a camera and their hand is like drawing on the whiteboard like Linda Brown was a student, like bum 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 bum, and like she went to a school, but she had to walk across the train tracks. Like a video like that, that's wonderful. And in fact, let me tell you right now, if you make a video, you're like super incredibly likely to get an A, as long as the video's not trash. Because that's way more interesting than a PowerPoint that you're clicking through. Most kids are probably going to do a PowerPoint, but I really highly encourage you to make a video. I can promise you're going to get a better grade if you make a video, as long as, you didn't throw it together and it's like thoughtful. Okay, so let's pretend that you make a presentation. If you make a presentation, the first slide will have the name of the case and the date of the case. The second slide will have the background of the case, so the story, like the human being story of like, here's Plessy, and he was on a train, and he was part black, and he went in the white car, and he wanted to get arrested. He did get arrested. They told him he had to go black car, and he refused, so he got arrested. Like, tell the story. Tell the background of the story. That might take 1 or 2 slides. Keep going, guys. Write a lot of that stuff out. And now it's gone to trial, right? Like, now we're going to trial. You're going to summarize for me the argument of Plessy, the argument of Ferguson. So, like, what are their arguments? Plessy is going to argue, I have equal rights, and you're violating my equal rights. Ferguson is going to argue, you have your own train car for black people. Ride in that train car. It's separate but equals okay. So you're going to summarize their arguments. Both sides often use the Constitution. So you're going to say that Plessy argued maybe the Fifth Amendment or something. Due process, whatever. And you're going to tell me the other side and their arguments. So when they use the Constitution, you're going to talk about the Constitution. I've got these highlighted here because they are like super duper important. Now you're going to get to the decision. The Supreme Court has heard the case and they're making a decision. You need to tell me, every judge, that when they make a decision, they use the Constitution. Have you ever written a paper where you cite your sources yet? Have you done that in high school yet? I hope so. You're going to do it in college all the damn time. But it's like the judges are citing their sources. They can't just be like, I feel like black people are equal, so I'm going to rule for Plessy. You can't do that. They can feel that way, but they need to like cite their sources. Where in the Constitution does it give them the power? And so it's so important that you tell me, what did the judges rule, and then what part of the Constitution did they use to make that ruling? How did they decide to make that ruling? So it could be a clause or an amendment. If I'm thinking of Brown v. Board, does anybody remember the part of the Constitution that said, what part of the Constitution? Major bonus points. Hypothetical, but major bonus points. Anybody know what part of the Constitution says having a black school and white school separate is not fair? We haven't much talked about this clause. It's a clause. It's a part of the 14th Amendment. I'm not hearing it. Starts with an E. No, lastly. Good guess, though. Equal is one of the words, but it's not right. It's the Equal Protection Clause. Equal protection. In the 14th Amendment, it was added after the Civil War. It said that all people need to be treated equally in all the states. And so the judges cited their sources. They used that clause, and they said, you can't be having a black car and a white car. That's not equal. So you just need to do a really good job explaining this to the class. You need to tell me who the Chief Justice was. There's always 9 judges, and one of them kind of wears the crown as the Chief Justice. They don't have any extra power, but they're kind of like the little president of the court, and we recognize the court as like that's their court. You're going to tell me what the vote count was? Like Brown v. Board was 9-0, 9-0. Throughout your presentation, you're going to be asking questions, and a lot of times they'll just appear, like you make a slide for them. So you tell me about the background, you have a question. Bless you. Why was Plessy arrested? Because he was a black man trying to ride in a white train car. Did you learn Plessy was like 7/8 white? It's crazy. And then, yeah, so ask questions. Don't ask basic questions. Like, don't ask level 1 stupid questions like, what was the vote? It's like, yeah, you just said that. You click the next slide, what was the vote? Someone looks at it was 9-0. It's just kind of like, that's dumb. Why don't you ask, what's a modern day civil rights issue that's similar to this? Or, what's something that's like segregation that's still happening in schools? Like, ask something that's deep. Get people to do a little, I always do like talk to your neighbor. Do a little talk to your neighbor thing. That's more interesting and more memorable than like what was the vote, 9-0, and then you're moving on. It's kind of lame. Yeah. That's a good question. I'm probably okay with, like, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could put it on screen and pause. You could not do it, and I would probably still be okay with that, as long as your video is interesting. Because you're still going to do a little follow-up activity where you check their knowledge. So I'd say for a video, it's engaging enough that I might not even really need the question. Good question. Her question was, if you do a video, how do you do the questions? And I said, maybe you don't have to, or if you do, you could just pause the video. You could throw them at the end. You could say them out loud when the video's done. I don't really care. You do a video, I'm like happy no matter what you do. Yes?
Like text in the video?
Yeah, like have it appear on screen, and then you could just click pause or something. And then the number one thing really is that you need to be able to tell me, like, kind of the last slide of this thing. Why does this case matter? Why is it important? Why did I pick it to study it? Brown v. Board is not about like Linda Brown being able to go to a white school. It was like it changed everything about segregation in schools and segregation in public and water fountains and all kinds of stuff. So the impact was much larger. The gay marriage case wasn't about that one couple. Now all gay people can get married. It had a huge impact. So tell me about the impact of the case. Like, what did it lead to? How did it change America? I want to talk about like things that drive me crazy a little bit. You should write this off to the side of the paper. Do not read the slides. Do not read the slides. Like, period. Do not read the slides. if you're reading the slide, that's the thing that's going to hurt your grade the most. I'm sure we've all sat in these desks and watched people present, and there's like the person that did most of the work, and they're like a pro, and you can tell they know exactly what they're talking about. And then there's the other three people, and they're like, Plessy was a African American man, and he was on a train. And it's just like, I could grab Trey and put him up here, and like he could read it too, like exactly the same as this person that was in the group. Like I need to know that you know your stuff. So it doesn't mean you can't glance at the slide. You're gonna glance. You're gonna look at the crowd and say, okay, so Plessy was this guy, and he went on a train car, and like he got arrested because like I need for you to have a conversation with the people. Don't read stuff. I have kids. They have the Google slide on their phone, and they think like I'm not reading it because I'm looking at it on the phone. I don't look at the screen. It's like no, that's the same thing. Reading on the phone, reading on an index card. I don't want that. You can look at the slide, but don't read the words verbatim. That's like awful to do. And it's the biggest hurt to your grade that you can.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so like don't even do the thing. But it's okay to look. Or if you do that, that's fine. But just don't, you know the sound of someone reading versus the sound of someone reminding themselves the facts of the case. It's okay to remind yourself the facts of the case, but don't read. Because I feel like someone else made the project and you just like, you're in charge of slide 3. That's how I feel. We know, we've seen those presentations all the time where a couple people are a pro and the rest of them are just like grabbing on for the grade, basically. And then you put me in a weird position of like, I want to give her an A, I want to give you like a C- or a D. And it's just awkward and so let's just all be really good and it won't be an issue. I want everyone to talk up here, so that's what makes it challenging. If somebody did a really good job and other people did not. Everybody's got to talk. That does often mean someone's in charge of a slide. If you make a video, I don't want to just see one person making a video. I'd like to see everybody or hear everybody participating. Or you could tell me later, well, they did all the drawing or something. It's like, all right, that's fine. Those are the different formats. Just so you know, we are doing this again actually for semester 2. Okay, we're going to do it again for semester 2. And this is a big one. Groups not ready to present on their assigned date, the best grade they can get is a 50%. Because we're doing these on Wednesdays, and that means that like that whole day, that's my plan in AP Gov, is like you got to present your case, and if you're not ready, you're going to mess up my plan, and then I got to be like, oh, okay, period 2, they're going to do the case next time. So like you're still going to do the case, but the best grade you can get is a 50%, and that's if you do a really good job. If you do just okay, you won't even get a 50%. If you got 4 people in your group and someone's gone, 3 people are going to go without that person. And that person is going to take a 0 until they give me like a paper, a 2-page paper about the case that they'll have to write. Too often last year, cases were getting pushed like a week or 2 back because there was just always somebody gone. There was always some senior sunrise ditch day, and it was always getting in the way. Anything else I want to say? So that's about the presentation. Any questions about the presentation? Okay. Who's thinking they might do a video for the presentation? Okay. Yeah, well, there we go. All right. Highly recommend. You're going to get a better grade if you do a video. Or, now we have part 2. Part 2 is the activity. So you're going to do a follow-up. By the way, right here on this thing, it's like 5 to 7 minutes, this first part, 5 to 7 minutes. And actually, most of the time I'm telling groups like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So filling that 5 to 7 minutes is not difficult to do. Next slide. Oh, this just says some of the stuff I already said. Don't read the slides. You guys remember I talked about the court system's like a pyramid? Like Plessy didn't go straight to the Supreme Court. He had to go like at the bottom of the pyramid and then like appeal up and then appeal up. It takes years, I mentioned. When you research your case, you're going to be reading about like all this old stuff like the decision at this court, the decision at this court. All I really care about is the last decision at the Supreme Court. So you don't need to bring in slides about like the decision in Alabama, the decision at the circuit court. These are words you're not super familiar with yet, but just can you write a little note for like all we care about is the Supreme Court decision? And then these cases are famous cases, and so finding like YouTube videos about them is not going to be difficult at all. So I want you, you get it every once in a while. You get a group up here, and they tried to understand the case by just reading about it, and it was too hard for them to understand, and so they missed out on like why does this case matter? Like they swung and they missed on like why this case matters, and like they didn't understand the ruling. So like spend the 5 or 10 minutes watching a YouTube video on your case so that you understand it. We watched that guy Hip Hughes once. He talked about Federalist 10. Do you remember that guy? He's all right. He's whatever. He's better than nothing. He has videos on every single one of these cases, and so do other AP Gov teachers across the country. So watch a YouTube video or two so that you understand, because you might not understand the impact or like why the case matters. Some of them are a little tricky. I don't want to tell you which ones because you might not sign up for them. But some of them it's not about the person and the ruling, it's about the impact. It's like I don't care at all about the person and the ruling. So it just, it depends on the case. Other ones it's more obvious. Questions? We good? Let's talk about the follow-up activity. So the follow-up activity is like 4 or 5 minutes. No longer are you teaching, you're just like, you're giving out some kind of handout, you're playing a game, Kahoot, quizzes, Fly Swatter, Jeopardy, Heads Up. I don't really want eliminate crossword. I don't want crossword. The bluff game, a live skit. Some kids choose to do a presentation and then a skit video for the second part. That's fine. Okay? So you can do a video here and still have done a presentation. But the video here probably doesn't teach the case. Instead, it's more of like a skit. Let me talk about skit videos. A lot of times I have skit videos and they're really great. And sometimes I have skit videos and they're really stupid. I don't know why. 20 times in my life I've had skit videos of boys at the park. That's weird.
Oh wow.
Can you do me a favor and just double check? And then if it's gone, it's gone. That's weird.
They probably thought it was good.
I mean, but that's a really like specific. Not a lot of people have a clipboard with a tape. I don't know. Whatever. It's not the end of the world. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I end up with sometimes with really, like when you watch those skit videos and you're in the class and like it's like boys fighting at the park and they're like Hadouken and like uppercut. It's like silly, or like the audio is really bad, like and it's like windy and you hear the wind. So like, can you just try to make a good quality video that I can understand, even if it means filming indoors when you should be outdoors, whatever. Like I want to be able to hear what you're saying. And I don't want a bunch of boys just like punching each other. Boys, they love to like get silly, and sometimes they're laughing like so much in the video and we're all sitting here and no one's laughing. Those videos, like none of us are laughing, but they think it's hilarious. So like, it doesn't mean don't have fun, but just like balance that silliness with like actual content. Okay, sadly, this is a big one. Oh, by the way, you can create your own game. Somebody came up with a great idea for a game yesterday. Are you smarter than Mr. Robinson or whatever? I'm like, that's funny. That's a good idea. So they did that. Oh, here's the thing. You can't do the same activity as another group. So I think I said that earlier in class. If somebody does Family Feud, you can't do Family Feud. Except for semester 2, it gets a reset and it's open to the floor again. I highly recommend that you bring candy. I know it's childish. But if you want to get the kids engaged for when you ask questions on the PowerPoint and for like winners of whatever game you make. Remember, this game is just 5 minutes. Okay, I'm glad I sent you back. I have a feeling it could just have been moved around. He put it by the door and he forgot. Yeah. I recommend you bring candy. I was just saying, a lot of times the presentation and the activity, they go long. So like, if this sounds like that's a long time to be up in front of kids, realize that time flies. Kids end up longer than I want them to be. So whatever you design, make it fast, make it quick. And then I do recommend you bring candy, like, because whatever game you play, you're going to get way more involvement from people. Like quizzes. You ever do quizzes before, or Kahoot? You take out your phone, you log in. It's like October and half the kids aren't taking out their phone at all. But if you have a Twix for the winner, everybody's playing, and I want to see everybody playing. If people don't give a damn, it hurts your grade if people are not participating. So I don't need you to spend $20. You could go to the vending machines before class and get a few things, you know, baked Lays or whatever, sugar-free Powerade. I don't know, but school milk, the apple and water. I don't know. It's helpful to bring stuff. Like the most you should do. This is the most you should do. Like, don't go past this. You know, buy something like this. You could give out. Oh, you got a question right here's like 5 Starburst. Oh, good. A lot of the games they pit the sides of the room against each other, like left side versus right side, and then one of the sides wins the game. Maybe you have enough to give like little candy to everybody. You just get way more involvement and energy and excitement if you have a prize. Even as childish as I'll judge a teacher if they give out candy. Like, this is kind of like elementary. But like, I won't judge you. I'm happy to do it. Okay. And then kids ask me if they should dress up. The answer is I really don't care about dressing up. It's not a big deal. I feel like that makes you happier if I say that. But if you'd like to dress up, you'll probably get a better grade just because you'll be impressing me. But it's not required. I don't care. I think I'm done. Does anyone have questions or comments? We're gonna get started here in a second. The groups with a lot of the groups, you guys haven't even picked cases yet. Do you guys know your groups? So you know your groups, but we haven't filled in all the cases yet. Okay, so I'm going to pause or turn off this recording, and we're going to start picking cases and picking activities. The way that